right, guys, welcome to last week on Instagram, last week on Rakely. Sorry for this post coming out so late, guys. I took some days off, just resting the mind a little bit, enjoy the normal life of a person, and yeah, so I'm back. In last week on Instagram, we look at some of my posts from the last week that I can't go into much in-depth talking about because of the Instagram algorithm and what they push and what they don't, and just how small the captions have to be to kind of capture the attention span of people and push myself in the algorithm. So without further ado, let's jump into this. All right, so our first video we're looking at is to skull or not to skull. So let's listen first.
As possible. So when we think about the hand, sculling is something that has very minimal displacement from a 3D angle. If I'm sculling, maybe sideways, I have variation, but I don't have an up-down variation. I don't have a 3D variation. So we want to be as close to sculling as possible, as that will make sure our hand displacement stays as static as possible. Now with this, I'm not saying the elbow needs to be straight, but then we can focus on popping the swimmer up instead of pulling water back. And by popping the swimmer up, the hips can slide forward and the swimmer can fall forward. So we're not pulling and leaning back, because then we're just falling back into our spot. And that is how you use anchors to do breaststroke. To anchor your catch in breaststroke, what we want to do is have as minimal displacement as possible. So when we think about the hand in space, sculling is something.
Oh, my bad. So the point of this post is I see a lot of people say not to skull in breaststroke. Breaststroke is not a skull. And this is one of those things where when I learned what I learned about anchoring the catch and how it's a downwards force, that it made me realize, like, that's everything I learned about making sprint freestyle from David Marsh was the exact opposite of everything I had learned. So then it's like, okay, well, what else is wrong? First thing was breaststroke is what I went to. And this is what I found out. And a thing that always reminded me was Nick DiNincenzo's breaststroke, which is a very small breaststroke, very little variation, even from height, right? And when I got the advice from Brendan and Eric about breaststroke pulling, we put these inner tubes around our ankles at practice and go like 300-400s breaststroke pull. And it was just limp arms, just basically don't even try to pull. And as soon as your face hits, you go into your next one. And that's like very little variation. And you build speed super fast and you'll be like flying. And it was those two things that made me say to myself, this is not what I've been told. So then I, like I said, he starts going through and figuring out, okay, well, if this is right about sprint freestyle, let's test it. If this is what's right, if this is what's wrong, which is actually correct, let's test it. And the breaststroke sculling, even in just a regular front scull, you can move down the pool. And there's low drag because there's little variation where you have to actually shoot, right? You're just out and then you're back in. And if you can pop yourself up on like that, it's going to naturally bring the elbows into a bent position just a little bit. And now it looks like natural breaststroke. So mastering the skull and just trying to get yourself vertical instead of leaning back, it looks like there's like one small variation, which is the hands of the chest, that doesn't occur, but it looks the same as a normal breaststroke. So that was kind of like, okay, let's figure out what's incorrect. You test it and it's like, okay, I can see how this thing looks like the real deal, but it's not the real deal. Okay, I see what's going on here. And then you go to backstroke and butterfly, and then you find out everything that you've ever been taught. And I was a, senior national qualifier in high school. And it's just like, wow, everything I learned was, so I wasn't slow, right? But everything I learned was like, okay, this is not the truth. So, and I mean the truth, like Paul Pierce, the truth, not honesty, the truth. Even though I guess it's the same thing. And I need to go answer a lot of comments. Like I said, I took some time off, so the comments have skyrocketed. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Or
are dominating swimming sports. That we have a little bit of a book cooking going on. Did I just come out correctly? Book cooking?
8 out of the 9 top world record holders were just all women, and then there was one like Leon Marchand, and it's all women except Leon Marchand.
Anybody catch it? Short course. So for whatever reason, whatever's going on, and a lot of that, or a big chunk of that, is your strength program. Short course is about strength. They're dominating short course, push-offs and underwater.
So the full story, and we talk about this in the actual real life clip or YouTube video or podcast post, whatever you want to call it, is when you look at the list, all the girls that are dominating the list have 2 to 3 short course meters world records, right? Whereas Leon has 2 long course and 2 short course, and a lot of the girls only have like 1 long course. And my point was that people always talk about the American system versus the international system, and this all occurred like kind of in the first year that Team USA took the world championships seriously, these short course world championships, in my opinion. You know, usually we don't send our best. I say all this in the actual full-length video, but when you think about it, like the U.S. system is based on short course, which is about power and your weightlifting program and being explosive. Well, it makes sense that the athletes who are growing up in that system are going to dominate short course. And then when you look at the list, I believe it was 6 if you include Leon. I think it might have been 7, but it was 7 with Leon. 7 of the 9 athletes are all trained in America, right? Where our strength and conditioning, our strength training system is based on being explosive and athletic. So it makes sense. And then my second point was that if you cut, or I guess it's kind of a 2-part thing, and with girls, you have to actually be able to develop them. Like, they don't have the miracle drug testosterone. I said this in the video. So you have to actually be able to get them faster through your weight program and through technique. Obviously, in the US, we have a serious focus on strength training. So my point was that if you eliminate this thing that we do very well to make sure our girls are always getting faster, the list would look so different. You know, immediately Kate Douglas is off the list. She's a 0, right? And then it was like with Leon Marchand, you know, we were saying he only has 2 now, and Gretchen has 3, but now Gretchen only has 1 over Leon. So that was my point, was that it's going to be that way because your girls have to have these things to actually get better, and the ones that don't will not show up on lists like this, on high performance lists. And it would make sense that they are training in America. And that was the case. So let's move on to our next topic. Flip turns. Hate when I miss that button. We're just going to let it play through. All right, so kickboard drill's a good one. Yeah, it is. So 144 comments, not bad. So the purpose of this is a drill that I use to coach little ones, right, on how to do their flip turn. So first thing we always start off with is these flips. Just try and do as many as they can. We'll start with 1 in a row, 2 in a row, 3 in a row, and then as many as they can go. And then, you know, you let them be competitive about it, right? It teaches them how to use their arms for leverage to flip, and definitely that backwards spin or backwards arm motion that they're going to need to get into their streamline, whether it's the bent elbows, which I don't recommend, but definitely with the straight arm where they can go right into that streamline. And then like you saw, the next one was I call it 6 strokes in the flip. You might have to go less strokes with bigger kids because you do give them 6 strokes, they're going to be like halfway across the pool and only get 1 flip in. But it's just swimming into the flip. Right? And then the third one was with the board, where now they're trying to leverage and pull the boards underneath them. And then I had them clap the boards together so they don't lose them. But once they get on their back, they clap them together, jump off on their back. And, that's just a quick, easy progression. There's more steps that we use to, especially with the legs, getting them to learn how to kick them out. 1, appropriately, but 2, in an athletic way. Right? There's a certain spot you can aim at to make it a lot more athletic. And make it like the advanced turn that we actually teach. But yeah, that's, real quick, there's 3 steps right there. Real quick way to make better flip turns for everybody. Real quick. All right, let's move on to our last one. So this one was kind of just a mashup. And the main thing here was I was talking about how we watch these videos, and a lot of people will just watch and it's like, oh, this swimmer who's this fast did this thing, so everybody let's copy it. Or this swimmer did this fast thing, so everybody let's copy it. And the problem with this is you don't know what parts of their stroke technique. So there's like the recovery, there's the arm swing, there's the fingertips down. When they put their fingertips in on fly, are they moving their hand? Are they moving their shoulders? Are they focused on their armpits? All those little details, you don't really know what's what. And you're kind of just counting on your ability to articulate what it looks like to create functionality. So what we do, though, is we'll take these things and it's like, okay, can we teach it in a drill progression that's quick? Okay, yes, make the drill progression. What are all the different pieces of this to make it work, right? So like with Dressel, you saw the back of the arm coming around and then he drops his palm, the elbow drops too. We know that that's bad back or fly recovery technique because that means they're going to catch the inside where you're supposed to be catching for freestyle and pushing yourself back. So we definitely edit some things, but then once we have the drill progression, we teach it at scale. Does it work? Does it translate? Do the athletes learn it? And then once they learn it, how fast they learn it? Does everybody learn it? Right? And then do they swim faster when they do it, right? We could have a drill, which usually if they can swim the drill makes the stroke cleaner, it's going to make them faster. But if the drill doesn't do the faster part, we abandon it. Like, what's the purpose? Unless it's like a transition into an actual skill that's actually going to give them speed, what's the purpose, right? We're doing this drill progression to make you a pretty swimmer, but you're still slow. What's the purpose? So that's what we look at when we say good technique versus bad technique. You see this elite swimmer doing something great. Okay, can we make a drill? Does it translate? Does it make them swim faster? And you could have the prettiest swimmer in the world with the technique, and then you try it out in a group and nobody gets faster. And it's like you would have to be insane to stick with that. You'd have to be insane. So, like I said, effective drill progressions that can positively impact as many athletes as possible. That's the goal. So, y'all, thanks for coming and hanging out. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that noti bell so you're notified whenever we drop videos. We drop them on, well, not today, but Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10:30. Tune in. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.